Welcome to the Charge Forward podcast. I'm your host, Jim Cripps. Joining me here today in the Hit Lab studios is Miss Kate Joyner. Now, Kate, you have a little bit of a different past. You started working for the state, had an interesting role, and then kind of got sat on the couch for a bit and started this amazing group helping women all over the state and even more.
Yeah.
Please tell us about that.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, like you said, I started working for the state helping people with intellectual disabilities. I did several different roles, but my latest role was helping find technology to help them increase independence, which was awesome. We use things, home modifications like Alexa, things you can get, from the big box stores to make it easier for them to have more independence. So loved that. It was really great. That was in my field for about 13 years. I worked in social services, and then through tragedy, I broke my leg in the woods by myself. And after that, that's where Outdoor Women of Nashville was born, pretty much.
And so what were you doing in the woods by yourself?
Doing exactly what my husband told me not to do, which was hiking by myself. I was on my lunch break. I love to trail run and hike. I've been in these woods my whole life. Wasn't afraid of a single thing in the woods. Did not even think about getting hurt. And I tripped and split my kneecap in two at Beeman Park on my lunch break and had to wobble out, call my husband from the car because I broke my phone doing that too. I had my personal phone on me. When I fell, it shattered. So I hobbled to the car, got my work phone, and called him and said, please don't be mad. But I did exactly what you told me not to do, and I broke my leg, and I'm stuck. Help me. So he got me to the nearest hospital. I was driving with my left leg the whole way there. And from there, he was like, okay, you're done. And we'd always talked about doing Outdoor Women of Nashville. We didn't know that what it was going to be called, and we didn't know exactly how we were going to do it. But I wanted to do it pretty much my whole life. So that was kind of the time.
Okay, so one, you don't want to admit that he's right.
Oh, he's 100% right. My husband is the smartest man I've ever met. Just don't tell him I said it.
But. That's right. But, I mean, so how did you fall? I mean, I know you were in these woods. It's like you were in your own backyard.
For
Beeman
sure.
Park you feel incredibly safe there. Mm-hmm. But you're in the middle of the day. I'm assuming in the middle of the week.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like there's not many people there at that time.
Yeah, it was actually surprising. So I wasn't worried about any animals in the woods, getting lost in the woods, any nefarious actors in the woods. I always have a pistol. I know these woods. I'm not getting lost. Felt super confident and never once considered getting injured. I mean, did not cross my mind, Jim. I was a collegiate athlete in incredible shape at the time. My ankles don't twist. I mean, none of that. So I really wasn't concerned, but I had tripped. I actually looked down on my watch, and pride got the best of me. And pride really does come before the fall, for sure. Literally, I looked down at my time. I was like, oh, I can beat that, no problem. And like super turbocharged ahead and tripped right there. And I split my kneecap open on a rock, and I tumbled down the holler because I was at the top of the peak. So I tumbled down and had to like crawl out, and I came out. I probably looked like a kidnap victim. I mean, I was covered in leaves and dirt and blood from the road rash on my arms. And hobbled out. And, I passed 3 different groups of hikers, and not one person offered to help me. Not one. Granted, I didn't ask for help. I was probably in shock, but they saw me hobbling along, and no one offered to help. So after that, my husband was like, look, man, you really can't do this. It's really not safe. And so I built Outdoor Women of Nashville, so I'd always have a girlfriend to hike with, because I worked from home and nobody could hike whenever I could.
Yeah.
So that's why we built it.
But now it has really taken off.
It has.
I mean, is it north of 22,000?
Our public page has over 22,000. We're about to hit 23,000. And then our private group, which is where all the magic happens, we have 16,000 ladies just from the local Nashville area, greater Nashville area. That's our whole charm, is we're not just a Facebook group. We get together. We have weekly hikes, kayaking trips, all sorts of stuff, and then organized events twice a month. So we're not just an online group that hangs out. Like, we do stuff in real life.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the powerful things is, there's all these groups where people just get on and complain, right, or, air their laundry or whatever. But you ladies take action.
We do. And, there is no infighting or arguing, like you said, because there's a good chance you're going to see that person in real life. And if you don't want to get punched in the mouth, don't be sassy online. Not that anybody would, but right, we all get along online because we meet up in real life. That's just our kind of hub, but we're out there in those woods.
I love it. And so from what I understand, archery, shooting. I mean, give me the once over of your highlight events
For
that you love.
sure. We do long range rifle. We shoot a mile through the TWRA at their Buffalo Ridge facility, which is phenomenal. But we can shoot a mile, the 300 PRC round, which is incredible. We do that, kayak, archery, canning classes, wild edibles, hiking, you name it. We travel now together. We've opened up a travel portion where we do some ecotourism, and the girls just got back from Yosemite. We're about to go to Asheville. So now we're coast to coast. We go all over.
That's great. That's great. I mean, and do you see this? Do you see growing it beyond Tennessee? Do you see?
I do. It's funny that you asked that. My partners don't even know this yet. I haven't fully disclosed, so I guess this is the announcement.
We've got a first here.
Yeah, for sure. We are expanding into Alabama, Florida, and Georgia.
I love it.
Very soon, as like this year, very soon. So yeah, we're very excited about that.
That's fantastic. And so what's the entry point? Like, how does somebody, do they just,
Sure.
how do they find out about you? I mean, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Because there's people that move to Nashville all the time. Mm-hmm. They move here from all over the world because it is such a hot spot. We have 4 seasons. We have a good economy.
Yeah.
The
people are pretty great too.
The people are pretty great. It's a great place to raise kids and, all the things. But with all these transplants coming in, and even the people that have been here a long time,
For sure.
it's real easy to be in, especially once you have kids, to be so centered on the kids that you kind of forego your hobbies or the people that you would hobby that way with. And so it,
Yes.
inside your subdivision, there may not be somebody to hike with or to kayak with. So how does that start? How does somebody find you?
That's exactly why we started it. Is I've always been the friend that planned the excursions or the activities and told you what to wear and where to be and all that. So Outdoor Women of Nashville is just a growth of that. We're still doing the exact same thing. So you find us online. We're on Facebook. So if you're a fella and want to support us, we're on Outdoor Women of Nashville, #own. That's our public facing page. We post a lot of stuff there and good info comes out of there. But then our private group is Outdoor Women of Nashville, #own group. And that's just for the ladies. So we post our meetups in there. And if you see something you want to do, it's really a choose your own adventure. Totally free to join the group. There is no entry fee or membership cost. You join the group, and then when you see something that you want to do, you just click it and go. It's really plug and play. So, and everything that we do is designed for entry level. Our goal is not to bring on the very seasoned shooters or hunters or kayakers. Our job is the girls that have never done it or don't have time to get real into it. Like, just come, try it out, take a 4-hour workshop, hang out with your girlfriends, and then decide what you want to do from there. So, just plug and play. When you see something, jump on it. But I will say you got to do it quick. Our events sell out in seconds.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Our duck hunt was 6 seconds and it was gone. So we've heard that it's harder to get in than a Taylor Swift concert because when you see those tickets up, get them.
So give me a frame of reference here. How many spots were there that went in 6 seconds?
We had 8 spots for that. So our events, we like to keep them small batch so you can actually make a friend. If you have more than 30 people, sometimes it's hard to really connect. Yeah. So we like our classes to be about 10, 15, maybe 20, depending on what it is. I think our turkey hunting class had 25 spots, but those went just as quick. So, and then so we did an intro to turkey hunting with the Tennessee Wildlife Federation. And once we learned how to do it, then we hosted a turkey hunt. And so we took, I think it was 8 girls turkey hunting in West Tennessee.
Okay. And I know everybody's going to be different, especially across 16,000.
Sure.
But they come to an event and, they make a connection, they find somebody they have something in common with.
Yeah.
How often are you seeing that person? Are they
all the time if they can get into the event? So once you come, you're hooked for life. We hear that all the time. And something unique that we do in particular is if you sign up for an event, you're added to a group chat with all those participants. So you can kind of get to know who's going to be there beforehand. Nice. And we tell you what to wear, what to bring, where to park, what the bathroom situation is. All those things that us as ladies kind of stress out about, we'll prep you so you know exactly what you're doing when you arrive. But from that, we leave our group chat open indefinitely. So we still have group chats from 5 years ago when we started that are still popping. One of our canning groups comes up all the time. And they're like, look what I just canned. And you can also ask questions in there, cheer people on, so that's always open. And our group is a kind of a leaderless model. If you want to go kayak, you don't have to wait for us to do an event. you just post that you want to go. And then girls that want to go with you, they're right there. So
That's great.
yeah, it's cool.
I love how it's kind of free form that way. And it doesn't, not all the things are structured.
Right.
And really anybody can say, I want to go do something.
Yeah. And we hope you do. Our goal is to get women into the outdoors safely and have the knowledge, and then a friend group that'll do it. So if you're brand new to, say, paddleboarding, you can post in there, hey, I'm thinking about getting a paddleboard. What do y'all think? And you'll have 15 people that'll tell you, hey, this is what worked for me as a lady. This one's lighter to carry or easier to manage, or, whatever they're looking for. So it's been cool to watch that kind of mentorship happen organically.
Right. And they're really just, they're trying to help somebody. And let's be real. I mean, we all like to talk about ourselves.
For sure. Yeah.
And so them sharing their experience is making them more connected to the group,
Yes.
which is also helping somebody else out.
For sure.
And they don't feel like, oh, I'm this weird person that
Right.
wants to do this. Nobody else does it. Just because nobody in your
Right.
subdivision or in your circle does it doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Yes. And something unique kind of about our events is there's not an age demographic. We have everyone that, is coming out of high school all the way to ladies that are retired and have to coordinate their babysitting of their grandchildren's schedule to come play with us. And we're all shooting the big guns.
I love
Doesn't
it.
matter. And you don't have to have any knowledge. We won't speak gun at you. We don't expect you to know anything. You come in and then we'll walk you through what you need to know.
Yeah. Really one of those environments where you meet them where they are.
For sure. So, and we try to demystify this stuff. Hunting has been kind of a club for a long time. And if you're not in it, you ain't in it. So we try to demystify, and we have great partners, the TWRA, the Tennessee Wildlife Federation, so many guys across the board that'll help us out and help us learn, because I don't know either. I'm not the expert. I'm not a turkey hunter. I don't know. Yeah. I'm right there learning with them. So it's been cool. We've learned a lot.
Well, I love too that, we had not talked about sponsors before you got here, and, some great friends of mine, Jerry, he runs Mid-South Shooter Supply up in Clarksville, and they've been around a long time. I think Jerry's been there since 97.
That's crazy.
And, you saw the visor and was like, oh yeah.
We know Connie. Hi, Connie, if you're watching.
And I think she sponsored some stuff with you guys.
Yes, she did. We met her at a duck hunt that the Tennessee Wildlife Federation put on. And so our girls kind of move in mass. Mm-hmm. So once you see our logo, you're like, oh, are you in the club? I'm in the club. And then we start talking. So it's an instant icebreaker. And she heard some of the girls over talking kind of what we're doing. And she's like, well, I want to know what y'all are doing. So she linked up with us and donated some of her personal items to our camo closet for new hunters. So, and then sponsored some giveaway prizes. And she's just great. We just love her.
That's great. Yeah, Mid-South Shooter Supply, they do a great job. They're just fantastic people.
For sure.
So somebody comes in, they get started. What's the average feedback? I mean, I know your excitement level.
Yeah,
and you bring energy to whatever it is that you're doing. And you love the outdoors. Your family loves the outdoors. We'll talk more about family here in just a little bit. But, what's the average experience for them?
Phenomenal. The feedback we get, in all of our years, we've been in business now 5 years, and we've only had one complaint, and that was that they didn't get enough time shooting, that they were disappointed, because we used to use guns that you had to wait to cool off in between, and some rounds that took a little bit more time. So they were disappointed they didn't get to shoot as much as they thought they would. This person had never touched a gun before that class, and they were shooting a mile, and they were like, well, I'm disappointed I didn't get to shoot enough. That's our one feedback that we've gotten that hasn't been stellar. If you look on our page, we have all 5-star reviews because girls love it. Learning the new skills and making it easy and just demystifying it. It doesn't need to be a big complex thing. I learned how to duck hunt this year. I wasn't a duck hunter. I've never been. My parents don't duck hunt. They don't hunt at all. So learning beside each other has been really cool. And it makes us ladies feel a little bit more comfortable not to be outshined, you know what I mean? Or talk, there's no, well, hey, little lady, let me show you how to do it with us. It's like, oh, what's that do? Let's do that together,
Right. Well, and I think too, with the partners that you've selected, they passionately have an interest in what they do, whether we're talking about TWRA, whether we're talking about getting people into duck hunting, you're partnering with the right people in order to bring the same type of spirit to every event.
Yes, that's very true. So our guys, we love our fellas. Our group's just for ladies, but we do have some fella instructors, and We love those guys, and they're specifically chosen to be like the cool uncle. We don't want your dad who's going to like put a lot of pressure on you. And I love my husband dearly. He's a phenomenal shooter. We can't shoot together. We drive each other nuts. And so you don't have, your husband over your shoulder or your daddy or, somebody else. It's like your cool uncle that shows you how to shoot his gun, that type of thing. So
Right.
they're so knowledgeable and excited and easy to work with and so patient. And they'll meet you where you're at. They'll hype you up if you're like, I'm about to shoot this huge gun. I'm so excited. They'll hype you up, or they'll calm you down if you're like, I'm really scared. I'm about to shoot this big gun. They'll kind of meet you where you're at to help you feel more comfortable.
And that's really cool. Now, this didn't happen overnight.
No.
So you're nursing the injury. Did you have a cast? Was it a brace or?
I had a big brace and I was on crutches.
So you're kind of pushed to the couch. Still working?
Yes. So I
Okay.
worked from home already doing technology from afar. So before COVID times. So I was already at home. So that made it a little bit easier.
Right. And just thinking back through the timeline, that had to have been the year after we met, because we met at a Christmas party, I think in 19 at the Jollies.
I think it was about that time. Yeah.
And because you were excited, you were fired up about home automation. We talked a lot about that.
Yes.
And then, fast forward, now we're a full 5 years later.
Yes.
So, people think of overnight successes and that kind of stuff. This didn't happen overnight. So
It didn't.
You're relegated to the couch. And how does your mind go from I've got my bum knee to I'm going to start this community?
Yeah. So it started actually about 10 years before that. This is my 10th year anniversary this weekend for Becoming an Outdoors Woman program through the TWRA. Jim,
Well-
this is crazy. It gives me chills. So I had that Wednesday, I had found out that my previous marriage was dissolving. I found out that things were happening that I was unaware of, devastated, absolutely brutal. That was on Wednesday. I got an email from the TWRA as a state employee. They had sent it out that said, we're having this Becoming an Outdoors Woman workshop. It's like a 3-day workshop in Cookeville or Crossville rather. Come out. I would have never gone as a mama to my stepdaughters. I've got to be with the kids, the laundry list of things of why I wouldn't have gone. But because I'd gone through that traumatic and dramatic experience of finding out that my marriage was over, I was like, I'm going. I got to get away. So I literally signed up Thursday, went Friday, got 2 flat tires on the way, huge traffic jam on 40, could not get to where I was going. I was supposed to get there at 2. I'd planned plenty of time. Scuba diving was going to be my first event. And I was pumped. I've always wanted to scuba. So I get there, I fly in on 2 wheels, literally, because I got there 2 flat tires,
Right.
pull in, change into my bathing suit in the car and like sprint to the pool. And I get there, it's 6:00. It's dinner time. And the guy's like, oh, I'm sorry, darling, we're done for the day. And I was like, and just lost it. I mean, all that emotion and stress just came out. And I was like, look, buddy, I'm getting in that pool. Either you can help me and figure this out or I will figure it out myself, but I am getting in that pool. And they were just like, whoa, okay, put your goggles on. Let's get you in. So they taught me how to scuba dive, stayed late with me. And I think word spread fast to the instructors. It's a pretty small community of like, hey, that girl's going through it.
Yeah.
Give her some space, give her some love, and just be kind to her. And so the guys at the TWRA really enveloped me and the ladies too. They were such a positive influence and just hugged me when I needed the most. So after that, I was like, man, once a year is not enough. I've been every year since. This is my 10th year. I was like, but once a year is not enough. I want to do this more because at that event, you take all different types of workshops that we offer now through OWN. But I loved it. So I talked to my husband about that on one of our first dates, and he was like, you should 100% do that. And I kept saying, well, someday I'll do that. And then I broke my leg, and he was like, well, you're done in the woods by yourself, so I guess you better start that group so you have somebody to hike with. We started it and then pushed it, worked it. It grew in popularity. Jim, we've never paid for an ad. We've never paid for followers. There's never been a nothing. It's all organic growth because people love getting outside and learning new skills. So it took, I guess in about the second or third year, it became a full-time business now. It replaced my income with the state. It is my full-time, pay the bills type of job now, to lead girls on waterfall adventures. It's the best thing ever. And our girls they're not the ones paying. They pay to participate in the events, but that just covers the fees. It's our back-end sponsors like the TWRA that pump funds into getting women in the outdoors that allow me to be able to do this now. So, we did the work before we got the paycheck, and now we're getting the paycheck, which is pretty nice.
I love it. I mean, again, it's not an overnight success. At the same time, I look at it like, I mean, you had definitely hit some walls. You had
Hit the ground.
It started with this big hit.
Yeah, for sure.
That just took the wind out of you. Mm-hmm. And, most people wouldn't have signed up. Most people wouldn't have, but they would give them 10 other excuses as to why it's Wednesday, I can't sign up today and go on Friday.
Yeah.
Then when they got the flat tire, they would have been like, well, this is a sign. Mm-hmm. I'm not supposed to do this. Then when they got there and they're like, oh, we're already shut down for the day, they would not have had the courage to say, I need this. I'm doing this with or without you. I'd love to do it with you, but I'm going in the water. And so, I think that is the big difference maker by people that really make their dreams come true and those that don't. Yeah. Those that look back on their life and go, I wish I had. Yeah. Versus I'm glad I did. Yeah. And so kudos to you. I mean, because so many people would have
That's all God, man. He guided me the entire way. It was 100% him.
But he challenged you.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely challenged you. But you were up to the task, and that's fantastic.
I always say I'm his favorite little idiot because every mess I ever get into, he's like, all right, dummy. And he pulls me right out of it and puts me in such a good place from the tragedy. So he's definitely looking out for me for sure.
Now, so do you have people that work with you there in the group, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so we have Amber. She is our admin. So anything that we do online that's really pretty or polished, she has put that together because I'm much better in the woods than I am on the computer. So she handles all that. In fact, since I left the workforce, I think I've opened a computer maybe twice. If I can't do it from my phone, it's like soul sucking to me to be on the computer. So she does that. And then we have Angela, who's phenomenal. She's really my right hand. She plans all our trips, helps me out. And then we have a pool of girls that will help host events. So if we do an event, there's always a leader there that'll make sure that you have water, snacks, sunscreen if you need it, Tylenol if you need it, a hair tie if you need it. You know where the bathrooms are. They just take care of everything for you. So we have a nice pool of girls that volunteer to help out with that kind of stuff too.
Sure. It's always great to have a host, somebody that makes everybody, and if somebody looks like they're not quite connected, somebody to kind of introduce you to Ann over here or to,
For sure. And that's vital because it's not just about the event that you're doing or the skill that you're learning. It's building the community to go with. If you're a new shooter, it's unlikely you'll come to a class one time for 4 hours and then decide to take up shooting if you don't have anybody to go with or to show you. Yeah. So that community is key for sure.
Obviously at some point it replaced your income. What was that? What was the pinnacle moment where you're like, it's there. I'm stepping off the dock into the boat.
Yeah. Well, God pushed me that way. On one of our first dates, my husband had asked me, in the future, would you homeschool our kids if it went down that road? And I was like, gosh, I don't know if I'm smart enough or patient enough to do that. And he was like, you are. Would you do it? And I was like, yeah, probably. If the time came around, probably. Mm-hmm. Well, like I shared before, I worked from home pre-COVID. So when COVID happened and they sent my daughter home, I was pregnant with my son at the time, my second son. And so when Mills came home, we realized how easy it was to homeschool her. She sat right beside me and did her work. Well, I did my work. So we decided, you know what, let's homeschool. And so we were already like full steam ahead on that. And then once we trusted God for that. And I guess I wasn't pregnant yet because we got pregnant after that. And then once the baby was coming, Drew was like, I would love for you to stay home with our children. I want you to leave the workforce. And as much as I wanted to do that, I worked hard to get where I was at. I was the one person in the state that could do what I did. And I was good at it and I liked it. And my ego was very attached to that. And so when he asked me to let that go, I prayed about it. We prayed about it as a family and decided, obviously, this is the best choice. The same day that I turned in my resignation was the same day that we got an offer from the TWRA to be funded to do what we do. And it came pretty close to what I was making before. So it was like God saying, okay, you trusted me, you did it, you sent your resignation, here's this opportunity for you. So from then on, them and several others have given us dollars to support what we're doing, so I can spend full-time hours getting more ladies out there. And today, I mean, we've had thousands of ladies come through our workshops. I wish I knew the number off the top, but it's been thousands by this point.
I love it. And, I don't remember if you posted that on social media or if we had run into each other, but I remember about that time that happened, you were like, this is just such a faith and a God thing.
Yeah.
This happened on the same day.
Yeah. The same day.
And it's just amazing how the world works and how God puts you in the right places at the right time, but also pushes you to make the decisions.
Yeah, for sure. He tells us to be bold and not react in fear and not make decisions in fear, but do them in faith. And, letting go of that salary and that ego more than the salary was really the ego of like walking away from it all after building it up. Because I went to college for that too. So this was my focus for most of my life, was to do what I was doing. So to trust God to lead me somewhere else, to do what I love now, which is be in the woods with my girlfriends and my children. So trust him every time, even when it's scary.
And then y'all got a farm now too?
We do. Yeah, we have 2 farms down in the panhandle of Florida.
Okay.
They call it LA, which is Lower Alabama, but it's technically in Florida. But it's right in that quadrant of Florida, Georgia, and Alabama.
Okay. And what are we working on there?
A whole lot. Some of it I can't talk about today, but we got a lot of things cooking down there for sure.
Good. That's fantastic. Well, we'll have to have you back on when you can talk about it.
Well, hopefully you'll come down there and check it out.
Absolutely, we will.
We got a lodge that we're wanting to build specifically for duck hunters and bass fishermen. So we're full steam ahead.
Okay. Have you, along the way, either in your previous work or in this, have you had a mentor that really kind of took you along and said, okay, these don't make these mistakes?
Yeah.
And what did that look like?
Well, it looks different in every opportunity that I've had. So we joke in our house that God has designed every step along the way. He has truly lit that path. I mean, truly, every work I've ever done or every interest I've ever had has led me here today in a very real sense. So each stage of life has had kind of a different mentor and a different figure to look up to throughout. So I wouldn't say that I've had one mentor for sure, especially with kind of the unique thing that we're doing right now in our lives, but many throughout. The biggest challenge has been being smart enough to listen to what they're saying.
Especially when ego comes into play, and you're asked to, for your family, you're kind of giving up what you've built, in order for the next thing, and you hope that it fulfills you, but you don't know, and there's all this, and you really do have to have the faith in order to do so, and then you're really doing what other people want. You're charging forward when it's scary.
Yeah, that's true.
So just kudos to you for all those things, and then. So you talked earlier when we were talking about when you had your knee issue in the woods. So obviously that was a big health thing. Yeah. And you were a collegiate athlete. Yeah. And so you'd always been healthy. You'd always worked, Yeah. And so now as a mom of 3, what does health look like for you?
It's more of a challenge for sure, especially as I'm getting closer to 40 than I am far away. But bleep that out. Take that out of there. Don't tell nobody. But it is different. And I have to work harder these days to stay more active and to really invest in my health, in myself. So that's definitely been a challenge. But it's been cool to show my children that this is vital. And I don't spend a lot of time in the gym, but I spend a lot of time in the woods. So getting to show them like real life, this is how these skills come into play. Better balance, better navigation, better situational awareness, all of that stuff comes in. So being able to teach my kids in the woods has been really cool. And my kids are very healthy and fit, and I hope to be able to do that with them indefinitely. I'm almost 40, getting closer every day. And I just had a baby 9 weeks ago.
I know, that's crazy.
9 weeks. And we did it at home. No midwife, no nothing, just all natural and just me and my husband. So it wasn't the plan, but that's how it ended up. And it was great. So we value our health and we value God above all. And then health is pretty much right behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have to protect what he gave you.
For sure. You have to be a good steward, not just of the land and the sea, but of your person as well. That's vital. So taking care of you is how you're going to be able to take care of others.
Absolutely. Now, you said that's not how it was planned 9 weeks ago. Tell us a little bit about that. So I'm assuming there was at least some consideration of home birth.
Yes.
Okay.
So we planned to do it at home. We did not plan to do it just he and I in our bedroom. So that was exciting. But we had a home birth with my son, my first son, Forrest. He's 3, and we got pregnant with him at like peak COVID time. So they were very particular about how you could and couldn't deliver in a hospital, and I just didn't like that. So I said, well, I'm not going to be able to do that, so we'll just do it at home. So we did that. Had a mentor, Katie Childs, from Pleasant View as well. She had a home birth and told me kind of how it went. And I was like, oh, I love that. Let's do that. Never thought I'd be strong enough or brave enough to do that, but I fell in love with it. Being so empowered, like, and in tune with my own body and not having doctors bother me throughout the whole process. So we did it at home with a midwife then. So I said, oh, easy peasy, this is old hat. We'll just do that again. But I labored so fast that the midwife came about 40 minutes after he was born. So I climbed in the pool and I was like, I think we got time. And my husband's like, we don't have time. It's happening. And then the baby was there within an hour. So
wow.
It happened quick, but I never felt stronger and more empowered. And I had a 10-pound baby by myself at home with my husband. It was incredible. It was absolutely amazing. So highly recommend. Hopefully I'll get to do it again. It was awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We've just been trained over the course of
Right.
Western medicine and all the things that, you don't do those types of things.
Yeah.
It's
It's crazy.
Well, and there's just so many more options out there. Like, I don't know that I've told you this. This was last year, almost a year ago. I went to Honduras and had stem cells therapy done on both my knees.
Yeah, yeah.
And now I'm not looking at a replacement anytime soon. Maybe not
Wow.
ever.
Yeah.
But people think you're crazy.
Yeah.
And
Let them think it.
yeah, exactly. You got to get in tune with your own body, and you also have to be your
Sure.
own advocate.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I was told for years that I just had sinus or had allergies, that's all it was allergies. And I would go on a Z-Pack and get some steroids and some antibiotics. I would feel good during that time. And then the minute they wore off, every 6 weeks as a collegiate athlete, I was in my doctor's office. I'm like, oh, I'm sick again. I ate well as peak fitness, struggled. And so finally I was like, this isn't going to work. I'm not taking any more of these Z-Packs. What is this? And so they sent me to an ENT, and he was like, oh, you have a severe infection. And I had to get some major sinus surgery twice to get it all out. I almost lost vision in my right eye, or my left eye rather, just from the infection that I'd had for years, and it would clear up and come back. And so this went on and on. And after the surgery, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I am not just going to take it because a white coat told me to. So after that, that's one of those God things that's led us here now. And in my family, we don't really take modern medicine. Everything that we need, we feel, comes from even our backyard. We try to even take our local herbs and medicine that we grow in our yard. Some of those things that are considered weeds, that's what we use for medicine through, and I learned a lot of this through our wild edibles class. It totally changed my life. I haven't taken, even after home birth, haven't taken modern medicine. And gosh, it's been years and years and years. So,
well, the old saying that food is medicine.
100%.
It's right there.
100%.
But yet we still think that we can shovel bad things into our mouth.
Yeah, just take a pill for it. Yeah, we eat a lot of organic, natural food that we grew and we harvested ourselves, especially being hunters. Mm-hmm. In fact, my little boy, he's 3 and he's the funniest kid you've ever met. But we were eating some venison that I had cooked, some venison meatloaf. And I was like, oh, your mama shot this deer. And he was like, okay, cool. The next meal we had chicken. And he goes, did you shoot this chicken? And I was like, no, I didn't shoot this chicken. He goes, I'll shoot it, Mom. So now every place we go, he says, I shot this chicken.
That's great.
Yeah. But they eat real. So a big part of hunting is the harvest, right? So all natural, organic, free range, lean protein from God himself that I harvested and I have touched. I processed it. I know where it comes from and I know where it's going next. So my kids eat a lot of natural foods.
And what's in it.
Yeah, for sure. And what's not in it, more importantly. And it taught my kids, we homeschool. So my daughter now knows a lot about biology and human anatomy because a deer is a mammal. And so their anatomy looks a lot like ours. So she's seen lung tissue, a heart, and why it's important to have a healthy heart and healthy lungs and, all of those things. So she got to see that in real time her whole life. So that's been really cool.
Yeah. And so do y'all do organ meat? Do y'all eat the organ meat?
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I've eaten heart a couple of times, deer heart. We're getting there.
Okay.
We're getting there.
Well, so our butcher, so we order a half a cow each year, and that along with every once in a while some deer or somebody will
Sure.
harvest an elk, etc. That's the bulk of ours. Not that we won't sometimes when we're between the half of cow ran out or whatever. But I got some advice that was grind it up in your hamburger meat.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
And because he said, my wife will not eat it. My kids, they turn their nose up at it. He goes, I don't love it. He goes, but you grind it up in the hamburger meat, and it's not enough to change the flavor.
Right.
He's like, but everybody gets all that vital nutrient, and it was like a light bulb for me. I was like, that's it. That's how we're gonna do it. Yeah.
Well, we might try that. My husband's always trying to get me to do it. I was like, we'll get there. But that might be a hot tip to help us.
At least make a batch,
for sure.
and give it a whirl.
For sure.
But I think the older we get, the more not only hopefully in tune, if we're listening, the more in tune we get with our health, but also like we find new importance. We realize that we're not guaranteed tomorrow, and so I think that we can instill that in our children early.
Yeah.
What a game changer that is.
Well, and really, breaking my leg in the woods was super humbling for many reasons, but one of them was having to, I help people find accommodations for their disabilities. I don't need help with a disability. So then trying to cook dinner on crutches, trying to chase my children. I was a cheerleading coach at the time too for the local little girls. And so like trying to coach cheerleading, it was awful. And it made me really appreciate some accessible trails that we have in Tennessee, like Fall Creek Falls. You can drive right up to the overlook and get out, so you don't have to hike miles in and miles out. Having that accessibility was huge. But after I broke my leg, I was like, I never want to go through this again of not being able to walk, not being able to hike, not being able to do what I want in the woods. So I've got to take care of my vessel to make sure that I can do that my whole life.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the things we overlook. Like before you saying that, I don't know that I would have ever considered a wheelchair accessible or handicap accessible trail.
Yeah.
But how much of the world would somebody miss without that?
For sure. And it's, and not everyone feels that strong call to the woods, but that's my whole life. Like I feel at peace out there. That's what I love is these hills. I've been raised in them. So not being able to explore that and just go out in the woods to de-stress on my favorite trails at the most stressful time of my life was rough. So we drove out to Fall Creek Falls. It's 2.5 hours from our house. And I was like, in the car, let's go. Like I have to be outside. I have to be in the woods. I can't take it. So, and now the state parks are doing something great, which is they're working with my old department, the Tennessee, the Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, to put accessible wheelchairs at each state park. So they've got a couple now, and they're continuing that effort, but it's like an all-terrain type of wheelchair to get people out to experience that and not limit it. So like how cool is that? And they just look really bad ace too. Like they got the track wheels. I mean, they're cool looking.
I guess, is there an initiative out there that is pushing that, or how can somebody support that?
Yeah, I'm really not sure. That's a great question. We'll post more about it on the page for sure. Every time I see that a new park has one, we kind of pump it out. But I think it's just a partnership between the state parks and Tennessee Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, putting that on the table to get people out there.
That's great.
Yeah, they're really cool.
I love it. Now, so most of the time we go through this section called things we think but do not say.
Yeah.
And it can be something kind of controversial. Doesn't have to be crazy. But what do you have, what's something that you're like, you know what? This is out there. I have to say something, and when a lot of people don't.
This might get me canceled, but just do it, man. Shut up and do it. I am so it's so draining to put energy into things you cannot do. I don't care your reason, man. Do it anyway. Nobody cares. Work harder. That's kind of the motto in our house. And when I worked with a trainer, that was our motto too. I'm like, you have to be mean to me. Like nobody cares, work harder. Like that's what's going to motivate me man, I get so tired of hearing people say, well, I could never do what you do, or I want to start this business, or I want to start this thing, but I can't. All these excuses about why you can't. Well, you're right. You're exactly right. If you say you can't, you can't. So, that would kind of be my controversial opinion is like, you 100% can. I don't care what's standing in your way. I don't care what it is. You can absolutely do it through God and through pure grit. So just get to it, man. Quit waiting. Just do it.
Well, resilience is really lost. I mean,
For
in this
sure.
in this world today, what was just commonplace, people
Yeah.
had grit. I mean, think about somebody crossing the United States in a wagon
Right.
with their family.
Right.
And somehow we've gotten watered down to where we are today,
Yeah.
where people default to no, they default to I can't,
Or default to you do it for me.
Right.
Or it must be nice. I hear that a lot. It must be nice. And let me tell you something. It is nice, and I've earned it.
Absolutely. But you met Castle
Yeah.
several times, but he's 10.
Yeah.
And so our kids are the same age. And Castle has 2 yards that he mows in addition
that.
to ours. He
love
has
it.
his own business.
Yeah.
And I will not reach out to the customers for him. He has to reach out to the customers. He has to talk to them. He has to handle the money.
Yeah.
Dad's there to drive the truck because he's 10,
Right.
not 16.
Right.
But it's our kids learn from us.
Right.
And if you're showing your kids to be healthy, if you're showing your kids, to be strong, to when
Yeah.
courage doesn't come before you do the action,
Right.
right? You have to just decide to, and then you get
Yeah.
confidence.
Be
And
bold, man. And if not you, who else? Like, do you want it or do you not? Like, go get it. The girls in our little friend group joke all the time. They're like, man, they call it manifesting. They're like, you manifest so much stuff. And I'm like, I don't really know what that word means, but I do know if I want it, I'm just going to go get it. I'm going to make them tell me no. Make them tell you no.
repeatedly.
Yeah. Don't stop, like, just make them do it. Just charge forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I like what you did there. So, what would be one thing other than charging forward, other than just do it? Somebody out there that is thinking about doing something scary. Maybe they're thinking about starting a group in Wyoming.
Yeah.
For women or for kids or for some type of group to get together. What would be a piece of advice for somebody that you'd share that looking back on how you've started this?
Yeah.
What would be something you would just, please, I wish somebody had told me that.
Play to your strengths. It doesn't need to be complicated. Don't do what anybody else is doing. As far as I know, we are the only people in the United States that are doing what we're doing to our business model, and we are wildly successful at it. If I can do it, anybody can do this. I'm not special or unique in any way besides being a child of the king. That's it. That's the only thing that makes me special. If I can do this, anybody can. So if you have a passion or an idea or things that you're good at, stay in your lane and do that. If you would have told me I was going to pay my mortgage with a hiking club 10 years ago, I would have been like, oh, okay. But here we are, like, just do it, man. Find what you're good at, stick with that thing. And if there's value in it, people will pay you. But sometimes you have to do the work before you ever see the reward, for sure. So start now. And if you're good at it and there's value to it, the market will regulate itself. It'll even its way out. Just do it.
I love it.
Today. Do it yesterday.
Right. Don't stop.
And we didn't have everything figured out either. We had no idea that how we were going to pay a bill or do this or anything, but we just started. That's all you can do is just get started. And from there, it'll take off if it's valuable. If it's not, don't be afraid to let it go and try a new direction.
Yeah. Well, and that ties back into our pride, right?
Yeah, for sure.
If you had let that pride keep a hold of you, you wouldn't have started this group.
Yeah.
You definitely wouldn't have left the job that you had trained for, that
Yeah.
you had sunk so much time into, to homeschool your children, which is invaluable.
Yeah.
And at the same time, start this and grow this.
Yeah.
And have the experiences that you're having now.
For sure. My first day back in the office after having a baby was kayaking to a waterfall with 15 of my new girlfriends. I was like, you know what? Life's pretty great. It's pretty sweet.
I saw that on social media and I was like, didn't she just have a baby?
Yeah, I did. I sure did. But yeah, just get started. And if it doesn't work, try something else. Don't let it kick you in the teeth, man. Just keep going. You have one life. I know that's so cliche and you always hear that growing up and it really doesn't hit, but you have one life. What are you doing? Get out there and do what you want to do. As much as I love my job, man, I sure like this a whole lot better. So just get out there and make it what you want it to be.
Oh, absolutely. And you're changing lives, not just the
Sure, yeah.
22,000 women, but their spouses, their children, their
Yes.
grandchildren.
Yes.
All the people that are around them that see something new, that see that spark, all of a sudden they think they can.
Yeah, because they can. They absolutely can. And that's our ultimate goal, is to make this a generational impact and a generational change, especially specifically to the hunting community. Grandpa used to take grandson out. Granddaughters didn't always go. Sometimes they did, but he used to take grandson out. Well, now granddaddy's still at work. Granddaddy, or he's retired, bought an RV and is gone. We don't have the same grandparents as a whole that we used to have teaching these things. And it's really skipping a generation because dad's at work as a suburbanite now. So we want to show that you can get out in the woods and show that next generation these skills that we don't want to be lost. Trapping is my other controversial opinion, as I 100% support trapping. I'm a member of the National Trapping Federation.
Okay.
I've never trapped in my life, but I support it 100%. But that's one of those skills that you were talking about, going across America. That's how America was built, was on trapping, which is crazy to think about. But that fur trade was huge. That's why we started exploring. And now it's a very controversial thing to participate in that or to support fur at all. So if you don't use these skills and invest in these skills and put energy and effort behind these skills, who knows what that'll look like tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, and you met my parents. So oddly enough, we didn't talk about this, but my dad was a game warden in the military.
Your mama and I talked about it.
And then trapping. So literally our kitchen countertops in the home that my parents built, those were paid for because they didn't have the extra money to buy the countertops. Those were paid for by 3 foxes.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So, yeah, I have a tie to trapping as well.
I love it. It's not something that I particularly take I have enough hobbies, Jim. I cannot collect another hobby between fly fishing, bow hunting, muzzle loading. I can't take on another hobby, but I love it and I support it so much. I took one trapping workshop and signed up to be a lifetime member that day, cut the check. I was like, I love it. I support it. Let me know how I can help. This is an incredible thing that I had no idea about. I was very ignorant about it. I thought it was like you see in the cartoons, the big bear trap, that just none of that is even the case. Trapping is phenomenal. Look into it if you don't know anything about it. Highly recommend just the importance of it. And everyone hates trapping until they have a raccoon in the attic and then they need somebody to take care of it. Then they're not so squeamish about it after that.
Well, there again, they want somebody else to take care of it.
Right.
It's crazy.
I mean, I do too. I'm not going to trap my own raccoon, but
I love it. Well, so Kate, how do they find you? How do they contact you?
Sure.
How do they get involved?
Sure. We're all over Facebook. It's Outdoor Women of Nashville, #own. We're all over Facebook, Instagram. I think we have a TikTok. I don't know. I'm not very good at that stuff, but my team is. So we're all over the socials. Just find us there. I think we have a website too. Like I said, I'm not real good online. I'm much better in the woods, but we're all over the place. And we'd love to have you learn how to hunt, fish, shoot, or just come kayak. You don't have to be a hardcore hunter or a trapper. That's all right. We love you too. Come hang out with us and go for a little hike. We're out once a week, every week.
Kate, thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Jim. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Team, you heard it here on the Charge Forward podcast. Thanks to Miss Kate Joyner for coming in, exposing you a little bit to Outdoor Women of Nashville. Get out there, seize the day, take on whatever new adventure you want to find. Don't take no for an answer. Don't find an excuse to keep you limiting yourself. Again, thanks to our sponsors, Hit Lab Studios here in Nashville, Charge Forward Solutions, and Sense Custom Development. Until next time, charge forward, everybody. Take care. Team, thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the Charge Forward podcast. Look forward to other amazing guests, and until next time, I'm your host, Jim Cripps. Special thanks, as always, to Nick Hyder and the creative team at Hit Lab Studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. Special thanks to our sponsors, Sense Custom Development and Charge Forward Solutions. Please be sure to like and subscribe.